Hello everybody, welcome to Shine On with Lumishine, Get the Gloss. This is part 4 of our Lumishine Permanent and Demi Permanent range. We're going to be specifically talking about our Demi Permanents this time. We've got our DD Dimensional Deposit Demi Permanents and our Liquid Demis within the Lumishine range. So today we're going to do an overview. We're going to talk about the mixing, timing, all of the things that you're going to need to know to use them in the salon. And I'll give you a few hints and tips on my experience and what we're doing with the colours in salons as well. So we've got 2 ranges, like I said, with the Lumishine Demi Permanents. We've got a DD Dimensional Deposit. I'll talk more about it, obviously, in detail. And we've got the Liquid Demis. Now, both of those particular products have some key features. The key features that they both share are they're both ammonia-free. They will not give you any lift, they're just deposit. So that's really handy for things like toning and root stretches. We'll talk a bit more about that later. They also both contain the RGplex technology. Now, I won't go into detail about RGplex technology because in the very first video that we did, we went quite in depth into the technology about the whole Lumishine range. That RGplex technology is within the whole range, and obviously within the Demis that we're talking about today. The other key point, the thing that I find absolutely incredible about the range of Demi Permanents within Lumishine is the shine. It goes without saying, it's kind of the name of the Joico Lumishine, but man, they really are amazing. And the shine level you get in blondes, in mid-lengths to ends colouring is just second to none. It's the best shiny Demis that I've ever used. I absolutely love them. So there are 2 ranges and they're both different sizes and they actually come in different consistencies. So if we have a look at our DDs, the Dimensional Deposit Demi Permanent colour, these come in a tube. They're 74 mils. They're the same size tube as the permanent colours, but you'll notice the major difference is they're gold. The permanent colours are a black tube. Within the DDs, they're boxed. And something to note when you are looking on the shelf, the permanents and the DDs are both in boxes, but on the very front of your box, the DDs will have a white tab at the front. That's really important to remember. It will show the colour in its number system and in the lettering system. So that's the DD Cremes. They are 74 mils. And then we also have the Liquid Demis. They come in bottles and these are 60 mil. Super shine. So while we're talking about the overarching ideas of how to use them, let's have a look at the timing. So for both of our Demi Permanents, the DDs and the Liquid Demis, you can time for up to 35 minutes. So 35 is the maximum timing. I wouldn't go past that. If you're toning, we recommend that you would tone up to 20 minutes. There's no need really to go for that full time because you're going to be working on pre-lightened hair. 20 minutes is ample time. Realistically, it's up to 20. A lot of the time, my toners are on for between 10 and 20 minutes. I never tone for less than 10, but 10 to 20 I think is a perfect timing for your toning, whether you're using your DDs or your Liquid Demis. Now, when you're talking about grey coverage, grey blending, we'll talk more in depth when we look at the particular ranges. But you can get coverage with some of these colours. We recommend that you time them for 35 minutes. However, the first 20 would be under heat, and then you would cool it down for 15 minutes at room temperature. That's the best way to get your true grey coverage. So 20 minutes under heat and then 15 minutes cool down. So lastly, before we get into more details, we'll talk about the mixing. So the mixing ratio, if you've got a handle on Lumishine already, you probably know this, but everything in Lumishine is 1-to-1 mixing ratio. So it doesn't matter whether you're using your Liquid Demi, your DD Demi Permanents, or even the Permanents that we've spoken about previously, they're all one-to-one. So it's really easy, really user-friendly when you're at the in the back room mixing up your colours. There's one less thing to think about, so you've got more time to be creative. So that's the mixing ratios, 1-to-1, and you would always use 5 vol or 1.5%. So the Demi permanents are always mixed with this particular cream developer. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about grey coverage, because I did mention earlier the timing for grey coverage, and that really is, it's a given. That's standard. You do 20 minutes with heat, 15 minutes without heat. So that is your full 35. But we want to look at what type of colours within our Demi permanent range can actually give you coverage.
Just got a question here, which I will answer as the person who made the slides. That was an error on my part. Why does it say 20 minutes with heat or only 15 minutes for room temperature? That was me not thinking when I prepared that slide. So it is 20 minutes with heat and then the additional 15 with room temperature. Cool.
Thanks, Abby. It might actually, I wrote the slides to Abby, so it may have been
I think
my fault. Who knows?
Combination of errors. It's all good.
Cool. But yeah, just to clarify, 20 minutes plus 15. So we're looking at which particular colours can give you grey coverage, and that will move us into looking a little bit deeper at our DD colours. So I've got my colour chart here. I'm not sure if you can see that okay.
Yeah.
So this first panel here are the DDs. And as I move the book open, this is all the liquid Demis. But for grey coverage, we're really looking at the DDs. Now, if I'm working on a colour between level 1 to 5, with my DD colours, I can actually get 100% grey coverage. So on your low-level colours, obviously you're going to need to have some natural in there. So that gives you the options of your 3N. You could mix that with your 6N. We've got 3NA and 6NA, combination of those to create a 5-level colour will give you 100% coverage. The same thing with our NGs. And lastly, our NWB, if you were to mix the 6NWB maybe with your 3N, that will give you 100% coverage as long as you're working on below a level 5. Now, when you get up to your higher levels, so levels 6 up to 10, we really wouldn't be calling that grey coverage as such. It's what we consider grey blending. You will get that multi-dimensional translucent results. However, something I think is really important to remember is these DD colours, they have a lot of ability to deposit pigment, and that includes grey coverage and on your lighter levels, grey blending. So it's a fantastic way to either introduce someone into grey coverage because you're working with a non-ammonia, no lift, gentle demi-permanent that can give you coverage. The thing that I've noticed in comparison to a permanent with the grey coverage of these is you'll get slight amount of fading on the grow out, less fading as you would, you get more fading than you would if you're using a permanent. But I actually think that can look quite beautiful because as we get the regrowth growth through, you've got your true white hair coming through as a regrowth. And then you've got that soft, blended, multi-dimensional white. It doesn't look as white as the regrowth, but it tends to be a lot softer on the grow out. So if you've got clients that are really concerned about really strong regrowths coming through and being very liney and noticeable, I think the DDs are a really good option to look at trying to give them great coverage, but it will fade a little bit. Okay, so that's your DDs. You can get coverage, level 5 and below. If we're looking at our liquid Demis, now that brings us into the liquid Demis in here. We need to have natural within the colour, whether it be straight natural or the NAs, the NWBs, the NWs, they can give you blending. We're not really looking at getting coverage with the liquid Demis because they are a lot more gentle than the DD colours. They give great shine, the shiniest products we make. but I would call it blending. And you can do that up to 75%. If someone's 100% white, you're not going to go in with your liquid Demi. You need to move in with your DDs. But if they're below 75% and they're just after taking the edge off and to blend that white hair through, absolutely brilliant option to use these. Once again, you will get fading, but that helps with the regrowth as well to not look as stark. Okay, so that covers the grey coverage or grey blending with our DDs and our liquid Demis within Lumishine Demi Permanent Colours. Let's have a look specifically at our DDs and what is the DD Lumishine perfect for? What type of hair and what sort of circumstances where? So, as mentioned earlier, 1 to 5, on levels 1 to 5 you can get coverage, on levels 6 to 10 you can get blending. They are perfect for colour correction or filling, and they're also a perfect ammonia-free alternative for permanent colour for grey coverage. Another thing that I find I use them a lot for is doing root stretches. So let's have a little look at some of the colours within the Lumishine DD range, and I'll talk a little bit more from experience as to when and why I would use them. So let's have a look at our SB range. If you've got extremely unwanted warmth, like we're talking about a lot of warmth within the hair, lots of orange, and you feel as though a traditional toner perhaps won't have the power to neutralize all that warmth, the SBs are amazing. They're silver blue. You've got a 6, 8 and a 10, also a 1, but these 3 are absolutely perfect for that color correction, for neutralizing that unwanted orange in the hair, or for lighter levels toning out. If you're dealing with Asian hair and you've lifted up to around level 8 and there's still loads of orange in the hair, the 8SB in the Demi DDs are just fantastic. Lots of strength to remove that unwanted warmth. While we're staying within the cool range as well, I use a lot of my 6NA as a root stretch. Now, the beauty of doing a root stretch with a Demi permanent colour, a root tab, whatever you want to call it, some sort of ombre technique where we're going darker at the roots and light to the ends. I don't want to be putting permanent colour in that because I know that that's going to grow down and eventually I'm going to want to lighten it. Now, if I use a permanent, that regrowth growing down is so much stronger and so much harder to remove. Using a Demi permanent, non-ammonia, it won't lift. So because it won't lift, you don't have that scary idea of thinking that you're going to create unwanted warmth at the roots, because that is a disaster. We want to keep those roots natural or on the cooler tones. And by using my 6NA in the DD, it's absolutely perfect. You do get longevity out of the colour, but as it grows down and I want to do some balayage techniques to freehand lighten those mid-lengths, when that 6NA is grown out, it's really easy to remove with my lightener because it's a Demi permanent. So I find that using the DDs, the cooler colours, the NA, the SB, and also the naturals, which are a neutral base, using those as a root stretch is just a brilliant option.
In my hair, Rich, we've done a mix of the 6N and the 3N, and I'm a natural sort of level 6, and putting that 3N at a root stretch is actually beautiful. Just gives it that little bit of extra depth. Yeah, nice. It looks great, and it looks so natural. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. When I do a root stretch, I want it to look real. I want that person to look as though that is her natural hair at the roots, and she's just got the perfect grow out. That looks like maybe a teenager in the summertime at Bondi Beach, where naturally around the front hairline she's gotten lighter, and the rest of those roots are real looking hair. And even if you're dealing with someone with grey coverage issues, the DDs, like Abby said, mixing your 3 and your 6, adding in some coolness of your 6NA and your 6SB in the roots, beautiful options. I've just got a question here, Rich. What are some of your favourite formulas with grey blending?
Okay, so grey blending. if we're talking grey blending, I probably would look more to my liquid Demis. So I'll talk a bit more about those in a minute. On the low levels with your DD creams, you can get coverage. So like I said, some of my favourite mixes are what I've just said then. We've got the natural ash, and the SBs to keep that really cool at the roots. However, if I'm working through the mid-lengths and I want to maybe even that colour out, and there is still some grey in there, working with my warmer tones, and 6NWB is just one of my favourites, and an 8NWB. Because we're up on the lighter levels, this is where you get the blending rather than the coverage. So the beauty is you can't lift with these, so you're not going to create that extra warmth while lifting. So even using these warm colours on the root area, you won't get too warm results. That said, if you want warm results, that's where your NGs are. They definitely are quite a lot warmer than your NWBs. Even though it's not noticeably warmer, they certainly are. So for more of your natural nude warmth, go for your NWBs. For your extra warmth, NGs. And they will give you grey blending on that level 6. So I got asked about favourite mixes. I don't tend to mix them a lot because I find that, for example, your 6NWB, that's already mixed. We've got a natural warm beige, absolutely brilliant on its own. That said, if I'm a little scared that might go too warm, then one of my favourite mixes is 6NA and 6NWB. Beautiful, just to soften it down a little bit. Okay. So we might look now at our liquid Demis. So this is our liquid Demi range, and we'll talk a little bit about when you would use them and what I believe they're perfect for. So from a personal hairdressing point of view, this is the colour range out of everything that I use that I prefer the most. I know it's not going to give me grey coverage, and it's not going to lift the hair and make someone blonde, but when I know that I can use this, I will always go to the liquid Demi, because I feel like the condition of the hair, the shine, the tones, they're really modern, and it just is so beautiful. I love these. The best blondes that I've ever done in my life have been using the liquid Demis, and I'll talk to you about some of my favourite toning mixes, because this is just a beautiful range. So when we use it, colour balancing on slightly faded ends, perfect if you're not wanting to put too much depth in. They are great at depositing. However, if you've got a lot of faded ends, I'd probably go in with my DDs if I wanted more strength. The root stretching, we talked about using a root stretch with the DDs. Now they are a stronger version. If you've got someone that's a bit maybe hesitant to have a root colour to stretch into their ombre or balayage, this would be where I would start, because it will fade quicker and it won't get as much deposit. So it certainly won't go too dark by using your liquid Demis on the root stretches. One of my favourite things about this range is the actual application of using the liquid Demis, because they come in a liquid form. It's so fast. Using it in a bottle, I'll actually show you. I'll show you that now. Okay. I'm not sure if you can get all this, Abby, but as we spoke about earlier, we've got a 1-to-1 mixing ratio with our 5 volume, 1.5%. And using the shaker bottle, I will just show you how I mix these, just to show you how fast it is. Okay. So I've got 7 NWB. I'm going to put 15 grams or 16 grams of 7 NWB. And 32 grams altogether. So equal parts 5 volt. Now, you can have this set up when you're applying another colour, have it set up on your trolley, and when you're ready to go, mixing is as easy as this. Done. It's mixed, and the best thing about it is that your application method is physically using the bottle's nozzle as your sectioning tool. So section, divide, squirt at the roots, and emulsify with your hands. Section, divide, squirt at the roots, and emulsify with your hands. And then when you've got all your roots on, holding the hair in the ponytail and just squeezing it in a zigzag motion, emulsifying it through, squeezing it more throughout the ends. And what I've just done then, physically shown you, that's how long my applications of toners take at the basin. I love it. It's literally a minute application method. So if you're using ultra blonde hair and you are concerned about timing of where you're applying first, you can put all of the hair on and get total saturation all over the head in 1 minute. So you're not going to get the area that you started toning first come up too quick. So absolutely love it. Like I said, on pre-lightened hair, these are my go-to colours. So let's have a little look at some of our ranges within the liquid Demis. As you can see, it's a larger range than the DDs. We have natural, we have natural ash, we have NV, NG, NWB, NC, natural copper. We have beautiful reds. These new reds have J5. It's a pigment that really, really lasts a long, long time. So these are quite intense for being a new Demi. We have straight violets and a double violet on a low level. We have our silver blues. And we also have our new range down the bottom here of our double ashes. Now these are a green-based ash, so we've got options for neutralizing now of violet, blue, and green. Absolutely brilliant. Your low-level double ashes are fantastic for neutralizing warmth. And you have a lot of options for intense reds and coppers, as well as some more pastel sort of tones. The one color everyone, when they see the shade guide, goes nuts about is the 8RR. That's just so beautiful. I will give a little word of warning with that color. If you're working the 8RR on pre-lightened hair, I found every time I've done that, using it straight, that the 8RR comes out a lot brighter than that on that pre-lightened hair. So what I've found now, if I actually try and get a result like the swatch, I dilute it with clear. So in the liquid Demis, we have a clear, which really enhances the whole range. It just shows you a swatch there of white hair. Doesn't really mean much. You guys know what a clear is. It'll dilute the color that you're using. So if, for example, I want a white blonde, and I'm a little concerned that my 10SB, for example, might be a little bit too strong, I can soften that color, dilute the tone with clear.
Just a question here. We've got, please give an example of where you would use the double A's.
Ah, excellent. Okay. Yes, because double A, people are a bit scared of them, and rightly so. Green-based colors can be scary, but wow, they can be really useful as well because they neutralize red. So the double A's on this 5 and 6 level are absolutely perfect for doing a root stretch mixed in with one of the naturals maybe, or just using them on their own on hair that is naturally warm. You might have lifted up those roots with a previous color service that they're just too warm. They may have orange, red in the hair, and the double A's are perfect on those low levels. The 8AA is the one I think that we need to be most thoughtful of because it's an 8 level. And most of the time, once you've lifted that hair to an 8 level, you don't have any red left in it. So what I tend to do with my 8AA is I intermix that with some blue. So perfect example, the last time I used it was on an Asian color correction where we lifted the hair up, and they were really happy with staying as light as possible. So we decided not to use any of our stronger colors, the permanents or the DDs, because we wanted to keep it as light as possible. So we used our 8AA, and I mixed it with 9SB. So my 9SB had my blue, and the 8AA has my green, and it was absolutely perfect for that. But do be careful. Your 8AA is not there to neutralize a little bit of warmth. We've got lots of other better options for that, which I'll talk about now. So if you feel like you've got orange in the hair, definitely the 9SB is the way to go. The 10SB is a lot more gentle. So I tend to find that I get more power in a reasonable time. So that 10 to 20 minutes with my 9SB. So if you're after great strong neutralizing but still remaining light, 9SB is a go-to. I do want to talk about my favorite color of the whole Joico range. Out of everything that we make within Joico, the liquid Demi 9NV is my favorite color. Now, I'm not sure what you're seeing in the image that you can see there. The swatch on here doesn't look that great. Don't be warned off. If there's one color that you want to get out of the whole range to try it out if you've never used it, it is 9NV. It is the perfect, safe blonde. It will neutralize warmth. We're talking about neutralizing yellow. So the majority of your blonde toning, the sort of toning that you might think a violet shampoo is not strong enough, but you don't want to go too heavy, 9NV. 9NV is just the most beautiful blonde that I've ever created. It looks real. It looks like that person was born in Scandinavia and has come to Australia and spent the whole time in the sun, and it's just perfect blonde hair. I love the 9NV. It's fantastic.
Okay, another question here, Rich. We've got, does the DD give an over deeper effect than the liquid range?
Yeah, great question. Yes, it does. It does. Not so much because the levels that you choose are darker, but because they have a heavier pigment load. It's very similar to the idea of comparing a permanent color with a demi-permanent. Even though you're using the same depth of color, the demi-permanent has that slight, you can see through it almost, a lot of shine. So in that respect, the DDs are probably closer to a permanent in their ability to deposit that color. But the beauty is they're not a permanent, they're ammonia-free. So yeah, good question, thank you. Same thing where I'm still thinking about toning. 9NV is absolutely my favorite toner, bar none. I love it. But I do like to do some mixing. And I love to look at blonde hair. When I look at it, I can't tell if it's warm or cool. There's something about it. It's a really modern looking color. And I get that and achieve that quite simply by mixing warm and cool colors together. So I do a lot of mixing of my 9NV in with, where is it? 10NWB. So 10NWB, you can see there's a little bit of warmth to that. And 9NV, the combination of these two colors just gives the most beautiful blonde. The 9NWB is lovely on its own, but it is a little bit warmer. So that's why I like to intermix some cooler tones with it. Also, I really like to intermix my silver blues with the warmer tones. So we're looking at the NWs, the NWBs, cooling them back, just pulling them back a little bit by mixing in some 9NV or some 9SB. Now, while we're talking about toning, I want to talk about the violet. So we've got our straight up 9V. This is fantastic. Be warned, it's strong. Like, it will overtone if you leave it for the full 20 minutes. and you'll get a lovely pastel violet overtone. But if you are not wanting that and you just want to use the violet to create that super icy clean blonde, I would recommend either mixing some clear with the 9V or even adding in, like I said, one of the warmer tones, maybe a 10 NWB. So as you can see here, lots of options with the liquid Demis with toning. I think it's about experimenting. I could talk all day about different mixes that I've done, but one thing that I do find is I don't mix more than 2 colours together. I feel as though I want to keep the tones that are made by Joico. I don't mix more than 2 colours together, and I quite often will mix a neutral, the natural, or a warm colour with a cool colour. So like I said, using your NWBs or NWs and mixing those with the violets, natural violets, or the silver blues are great blonde combinations. Okay, so I think that concludes our session on the liquid Demis for now, unless there's any questions out there.
I think we're all good.
Excellent. So liquid Demis using the bottle, so fast, fantastic, super quick. Yeah, so just to recap what we've spoken a little bit about today, our 2 Demi permanents with Lumishine. The reason I think you guys are going to love them is the ease of use, whether it's the application with the bottle or just simply their one-to-one mix. All of the timing, it's like 35 minutes or 20 for toning. Really simple, but it's the shine. It is the shine, the deposit, and the tone. If you want modern looking colour, Lumishine DDs will give it to you. I absolutely love them, and I hope you guys enjoy using them in the salon too. So before I do say goodbye today, I just want to let you guys know that we are on again tomorrow doing a live stream, and we have got Over the Rainbow with Joico's Colour Intensities, semi-permanent. So while we're sticking on the non-permanent feel, we've got all our Demis happening today in Lumishine, and we've got our semis happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Australia. And I think that means 3 p.m. in New Zealand. So we look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you very much for your time today. And that's Richard Watson for Sabre, out.
Thanks, everyone.